I think we've got our answer on what the next map's going to be, guys. It looks like we've got a Halcyon game this time, which I think we all kind of saw coming, really. We're getting the favorites out the way first, and then they're going to be forced to fight over the dregs.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm seeing in chat from Sprinkleberg as well. Another host note: Bainhelm was the first ban picked for both picks thus far in the grand finals. So it does look like Bainhelm is one that the players are trying to avoid for these final fights. So we are seeing favourites, as Sloth said, like Halcyon and Himwood come out to play, and it's super fun to see. I love the level of gameplay on Halcyon. Although I am a Dustpool fanboy, Halcyon is a close second for me for playing games on. As we've covered before, just the levels of elevation and the different game styles that can be played in all the different locations is super interesting. But we know that Gecko's Wet Thigh is now up 1 point in the grand finals, so we shall see.
Real trouble there early on.
Yeah, my gosh. Yeah, it is now 5-6. So that is 1 point up for Super Team. They are back with a vengeance by the looks of it.
And a big shout out to Sprinkleberg coming through yet again, as we do get a little bit of a host note. We are letting being known that Bainhelm was the first ban picked for both picks thus far in the grand finals. So these players don't want to play on Bainhelm. They don't want to play in their favor on Bainhelm. They don't want to play against their favor in Bainhelm. They just don't want to be on that map at all for whatever reason.
I think the reason is that map, unlike all the others, really forces a different kind of play style. All the others have a real direction to them. They have a real focal point of the map where the most fights take place. There isn't a point like that on Bainhelm at all, where all of the fights will take place. It's such a big map with such a variety of environments that constantly the battles are changing location, and there's not just one arena for the battles to take place on. So perhaps that's what it is. They just the teams have dedicated themselves to practicing the main formats because these are the ones that all require the same sort of strategy, and they both know that within themselves that Bainhelm is their weakest point.
It brings them out of their element. It makes them play in ways that they might not be completely comfortable with, and that makes sense. That 100% makes sense. But we did not make sure to let everybody know that we swapped over to a different perspective. You guys, you may have already realized it, but we are watching Super Team now instead of Gecko's Wet Thigh. We're going to be watching Arctic, our Pyromancer buddy. Definitely one of those players that we saw in the previous rounds, just putting on a showcase of just beautiful spell break, that W key energy going in with that big in-your-face mobility with that Firefly. And we're going to see it all over again here as Arctic does pick up that Toxic offhand, going to be rocking the DF Pyromancer build. We call it Dragon Flames in the community if you don't know what's up. But yeah, Arctic coming on through, find himself right in the center of this Halcyon area, and it looks like he's feeling just fine and at home. Really aggressive, does take quite a bit of damage, down to 1 HP, and will eventually fall to Delicious Wetfish. But he was still in it, pumping out damage, doing a good job until the last second, until Delicious Wetfish came through with that almost unavoidable lightning damage. It'll go right through your firewall. It'll go right through the bush that you're trying to hide in. It will get you every time. And Arctic definitely finding that out as we take a look at the top and see that it looks like Gecko's Wet Thigh has pulled ahead by 2 points so far in this grand finals. Are we going to have a full 5-match grand finals, or are we going to see a 3-round sweep here?
You never know. I mean, I think something that's crazy that we're seeing in these games, especially like viewing it from the commentary standpoint, is we are commentating a 1 point difference between games that are going through up to like 90 points. The level of competitiveness and how close these players are to each other is absolutely crazy. We are arguing between the 1 point going backwards and forwards, which just goes to show like how much work these players have put in and how dedicated they are to their builds, their classes, their teams. It's incredible to see. Ooh, cheeky little pick off by Arctic there, slapping Gecko in the back as he was getting a scroll, I believe. A bit unfortunate there, but a nice pick for Arctic. And again, using the flame wall to get out. Looks like newbies coming in for an assistance, and they do get the exile.
Huge pick there, huge. Even them up a little bit. I'm always excited to see the Pyro do his thing. We don't get to see it very often, so I can't stop talking about it
today, is he? You're really like.
It makes me want to go join SGC, you guys! ! SGC, get in the Discord. Yeah, you guys, but for real, it's really cool to see all these classes come through and be played at a high level and show you what that looks like. And yeah, man, like LD said, it's down to just the tiniest little sliver of difference in skill and trying to come up with a strategy that gets you that advantage here in these lobbies. And all these players really trying to make it happen. But definitely a lot of teamwork coming through as Arctic does find his teammate Landon literally right beside him. Does go on in and find himself taking some damage, but is able to get some of it back as he pumps out a little bit of that fireball damage and gets a little bit back from that vampire. Going to be able to jump on through using that dash room to close the gap. Finds his boy Newbie right in the middle of a situation, and a nice little DF explosion will come through to pick up 1 and 2 exiles. Are they going to get a third one? I don't know. Gecko and Delicious Wet Fish going down in that kill feed in hot pursuit of a full squad wipe, but can't quite secure that third one. Instead is going to go for a little bit of a reset back here with Kyrie, as I'm definitely hearing Kyrie in my head say, hey, Arctic, get back here. Come on, let's recall. Big plays coming through. And I told y'all Kyrie's going to come through and get this team focused. And what do you know? It's happening.
It's comms like that are so important as well. It's so easy when you're playing this game to get tunnel vision and just focus down those kills. But when you've got an advantage like that, 2 of the enemy team are in the shop. They can't support. You've got the other guy on his heels. He's running as fast as he can to make sure he doesn't die. That is your best moment to then yourself take a step back, reset, either get your heals on or take your recall and get your upgrades then. And that's exactly what Kyrie reminded Arctic there. And as you say, that's what makes a real leader, is someone that can not only inspire and tell you what to do at the right time or call out marks or whatever. It's the people that can also be like, hang on. You're going too hard. You need to come back. We need to play this smart. Like, let's not forget they're already 1 point down in this grand final. So they really are methodically choosing their options and when they can do these things. And it's, as we've been saying all night, it really is just a testament to, oh my Lord. Timmy, what was that?
Dude, fireball. He slipped a fireball out of his pocket. It went over top of the house and slapped the dude in the face down to 0. And that one, like earlier when Kyrie called Arctic, hey, come back here, recall, that was the moment when this game changed in favor of Super Team. You see 53-49 now, a 4-point deficit. In my opinion, it's only going to grow. Gecko's wet Thigh is really going to have to come up with some kind of strategy here, because I can feel the ball rolling in the momentum, in the swaying in the direction of Super Team. And I knew that Kyrie's comms and leadership was going to come into big play, and I'm so happy that we had just a perfect example of that happening, and just seeing that point from the game being the point where it turns in the favor for this squad. It just shows you how important it is to have a good coach, you guys. Medify is the sponsor. Go get you a coach. Kyrie Caitlin will be one of those coaches. You can literally hire Kyrie Caitlin to teach you to do this stuff. Check it out. 58-55.
Watching Kyrie in this tournament is just the best kind of way of seeing exactly what Metafy can do for you. You see the level of players that are here. You see even if we're not obviously always on Kyrie's perspective, or we haven't seen Kyrie's perspective yet in this match, we all know that the work she's doing. We can see how much she's helping her team. We can hear how much she's helping her team, and this is all kind of things that Kyrie and Kamsky and Chaos will teach you all on Metafy. So, I mean, don't forget, we've also got that 15% off code. It's CSL 15, I believe, if I remember that rightly.
CLS 15.
CLS, my bad. Got them two the wrong way around, but it's 5 a.m. I'm sure I can get some slack, right?
For sure. 63-62, and it looks like Gecko's been able to slowly claw their way back. It's 1 point deficit now. Really, I honestly thought that momentum was going to come and just keep going. But they are fighting for it. They want to take the dub. This is the grand finals. If they take the second round victory for Gecko's Wet Thigh, that's going to be a huge lead for them going into the third round, already having 2 wins. And it's going to be, like you said, the mentality of that on team Super Team is going to be a little bit more difficult. You have a little bit more pressure on yourself. So if they could come out with a win here, it can make third round going in a lot more a relaxed situation for both teams. Whereas if Gecko's Wet Thigh comes through with another dub, it's going to be a really, it's time to focus up and try to figure out how we can edge out and get the advantage in this next round going through, or we're done in the grand finals. And we'll see what happens as Super Team seems to come through into this particular match with some new energy, 63 to 79, or I'm sorry, 69 to 73. And that's back up to that 4-point difference there. Well, brought it down to 1 for just a second, but Super Team says, nah, LD. They say, nah, you can't do that.
Nah.
We're here. What are they going to do, LD? Tell them about it.
Exactly. That's it. Well, that's what we see from Team Super. They just came in, got the entire squad wipe. You know, all 3 team members came together. They were like, right, we need to take this point. We need to make sure we secure that lead again. We're not losing it. We've got the momentum. This is how we use it. And they pulled it out. 4 Exiles in the lead now. We're down to the last almost 3.5 minutes of the game. You can see here that we've got a lot higher points in this kind of point of the game. So it may come down to the full 120 points, or we may see the timer run out as we have seen from many other games. But you can see here from Arctic some of the upgrades that these breakers have now getting to the very strong level. We see a lot of legendary items, maxed out talents. So yeah, some of these fights, the time to exile is going to go up quite a bit as well. So positioning and movement and sorcery cooldown management is going to play an even bigger role when it comes into these end game fights.
Yeah, definitely. Gecko's Wet Thigh really have got to kind of regroup and focus this back up again. They seem to be a little bit staggered in their respawns, being able to be picked off for a 2v1 quite easily. And I mean, there's still time for them to come back. It's going to be tricky, that's for sure. They're getting into the area now where 4 points is a tough lead to overcome, especially with 2.5 minutes left on the clock. But if there's any team that can do it at this point in the tournament, it's going to be Gecko's Wet Thigh. And I mean, they've already taken 1 point down from that lead, so this could be it coming here.
We'll see what's going on. Whitefish coming through a little bit of that toxic loving and converting that fire puddle into the green stuff that will get rid of our pyromancer boy Arctic. But I gotta say, I'm very impressed there. We saw Arctic, but right before he recalled, he was being pursued. He was very low health, and instead of just trying his best to get behind structures as soon as possible, he took a second to turn around and exile the 3 Valguards near. And you think, why would anybody do that? But if you take a look down at the bottom right-hand corner on his talents, you'll notice that he's rocking that vampiric talent, which will give you health back as you deal damage. So I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm not sure who brought it up, but those Valguards in these rounds will not only be a source of upgrade potential in your items and your boons and your talents, but also, depending on your talent build, could be a healing potential. So definitely Arctic getting a little bit of health back from those Valguards. Not a ton of health, but enough to make him feel safe to be able to recall and get behind that structure. And that's very, very important. Utilizing everything at your that you have at your fingertips is what it takes to take these rounds in this tournament. You have to use everything that you can. 94 to 89 as a big DF comes through, and I do believe he got before he recalled, right?
No, he did. He pulled the recall off, I think.
What?
Yeah, clutch recall. I've seen. I'm pretty sure that was. I'm pretty sure that was him making it.
Yeah, they've been 5 points ahead for about a minute, for about 30 seconds now. A minute now. So, oh my gosh, it does look like
I think this is. I don't think there's coming back for Delicious Wetfish at this point in his team. There's a minute left on the clock and a deficit of 7 points.
Arctic with 9 exiles on the board. Absolutely love to see it. It looks like Super Team have really pulled it out for this match and are going to even out the score. But that are 30 seconds left to go.
Oh my lord, they're just extending their lead ridiculously now. What's that? An 8-point lead?
Yep. We're getting close to the biggest
even
lead
if
we've seen during the entire tournament.
Yeah.
Beautiful use of DF. You see, not only DF can be a gigantic explosion of damage and output, but it also can be a support ability, whether or not you believe it. I'm telling you, you can actually use it to explode players through walls, through structures. If you see somebody go into a house, you know that they're low, you can use that toxic cloud, throw down a firewall or fireball, convert it into a DF explosion. And oftentimes you can either deal damage and get the exile, or you can give a team a little bit of information as they can see the player through the wall that you just damaged. But that's going to be the end of our second round, as it looks like Super Team is able to fight and bring it back to take the round 2. Definitely excited to see that. Round 1 was a very, very close one. If Gecko's Wet Thigh came in and took the second round, it would have been a little bit more of a difficult situation going in to that third round for Super Team. But now they're going in evenly matched, 1 round to both team. They're both probably going to feel pretty good, and they probably both learned a lot about each other going into our next match. But how will that play into map decisions, what maps they're going to decide, class decisions? Will there be a change in composition here, LD? Will there be a change in what map do you think is going to come in? What do you think they've learned from these engagements, and how are they going to apply it going forward?
Well, we've seen previously from Super Team, you know, they like to switch up their builds quite a bit, especially Kyrie switching between that Tempest and the Stone and the Toxicologist. Of course, we had Kyrie on Tempest in the last game. So with the current maps available, maybe we're going to be looking at a Dust Pool with a Stone Shaper Kyrie, or maybe they're just going to go completely random and try and pull a wild card out off the back of a win and go Banehelm with a Toxicologist. We never know what might happen, but I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw Arctic pull off a little jig at the end of that.
Did you see Arctic's damage?
What? How much?
3,000 damage. The next closest was somewhere in the 2,000s.
Incredible stuff. But I think this next game could be on absolutely any map. But I think I'm looking at Dustpool. I think I'm looking at Dustpool for the next one. We've had Himwood, we've had Halcyon, we've had the two big ones that people enjoy a lot. Although we have seen Bogmore, I think Dustpool is just a better fighting ground in general.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see what they choose and why they choose it, and if there's any classes coming into play. So far, I think Kyrie Caitlin's probably played the most variety of classes. We've seen Tempest, we've seen Stone Shaper, we've seen Toxicologist, and like you said, she could come in and be playing anything at all, and do really well with it. And I think that's really cool if they play into that a little bit and they can really take their opponents by surprise. They could come out with a little cheeky steal of a win without their opponents having any opportunity to do anything, because after you get into the game, you can't change your class. So so many options that you can make. So we'll see what they choose going in. I think we're definitely going to see Arctic still doing his Pyromancer thing, coming in and really pumping out that big damage, and making sure that he's putting the pressure on the enemy team. Newbie keeping that back line nice and frosty with the Frost Lances coming out and making sure that all those picks are capitalized on. And Kyrie Caitlin just floating and doing what she said, what she wants to do. It's going to be interesting to see if Gecko's Wet Thigh changes up anything at all. So far, they've been pretty solid in their choices of classes, their composition, the way they're playing. They don't really change much up from round to round because it works. They have it down pat. They know what they're doing. And we've talked about it a little bit before. Which one is going to be the deciding factor here? We've seen a huge deficit there in that second round, probably one of the biggest that we've seen during the entire tournament, an 8 or 9 point win. And this is the grand finals. Is that a sign that Super Team found the secret ingredient? Did they come up with the secret equation to win against Gecko? And will we see a complete just sweep from now on? Or was it just a map that played in their favor? What are y'all thinking?
I wonder. I honestly do. I mean, we've obviously seen that these two teams from both these two matches and when they met in the winners final are very, very evenly matched. So I think the map was a big part of what happened there. And Kyrie, Arctic, and Newbie looking a hell of a lot more comfortable dancing around Halcyon than Delicious Wet Fish's team. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Banehelm for the next one to get that out of the way. Now that they both are back on a level playing field, it's not all to play for at this point. You've got a bit of a buffer. You can lose one more game. Why not get your worst map done and out of the way now? Because it doesn't matter what the outcome is.
Yeah, I think that's a really great choice. A really good point. Like you said, they're even. Getting that map that they both don't feel comfortable at could be the play, just to see what you need to do from that point on. Because this could give you that advantage, could lose you the advantage. And I think it would be a smart play. But as we